Okay, we have a lot to cover today, so let's go ahead and get started. Once again, welcome. My name is Kimberly Tucker, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at DSD. And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us today for our webinar with DocLink's Advanced AP Automation for Sage ERP. So today we've invited Alltech to show you DocLink. DocLink is the Sage-endorsed document management and workflow automation solution. So we actually use it in-house, and we really believe in this technology that can benefit every organization. So we're excited to show you. The goal of this webinar is to show you this more effective way of managing your everyday AP processes. So we'll look at some advanced functionalities of how you can automate and streamline your manual business processes and then reduce costs as a result. So I just want to reemphasize that this webinar is for you. So please ask any questions you have as we go along. There's a handy questions area and a chat box in this webinar environment. But if you have trouble with those, feel free to respond to any of the emails you've gotten from us, and we'll be sure to address your questions in the Q&A portion at the end of this presentation today. So now I'm going to turn it over to Perry Lynn and Mark to get started.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. I appreciate it. And we're so delighted to have this opportunity to showcase DocLink and really start uncovering kind of what's going on in the business today, what's a manual business process, and how can you use DocLink to really automate those processes. But let's kind of put our visionary cap on for a moment, and I want you to imagine a paperless world, a world in which you would have documents at your fingertips. So at any moment in time, either through your Sage windows or right from within DocLink, you can access any document, report, or form. That would be a beautiful thing. And you can see, with these quotes that are here on the screen, that what used to take a company several hours to an entire day to search through paper files can be now done in as little as 30 minutes. Now, that may have been for an audit, but really within moments, you'll be able to access documents. And that's part of the infrastructure or the foundation of DocLink and bringing to you guys as an organization a full enterprise-wide document management and workflow solution. So let me tell you a little bit about one of our customers, and then we're going to get into the content of today's presentation. So I'm sure most people know all about Palm Springs Aerial Tramway. For them, they came to us because they were suffering with a big storage issue. Now, they've actually been a DocLink customer since 2011. All right, so they've really been enjoying DocLink and kind of extending it through other areas in their organization. But initially, they just had too much paper, and storing documents and finding documents was very difficult. Additionally, in their AP process, the approval cycle was very slow and very tedious, and it required their staff to actually physically be in the office in order to apply signature, to those documents and make those invoice approvals. They also had a pretty grueling audit process, and so being able to easily find documents was very time consuming. So they implemented DocLink. They came to us trying to say, hey, listen, we've got all these issues. We've got paper issues. We've got approval issues. And once they implemented DocLink, their response was, DocLink has been a lifesaver for us, a game changer. It really has improved our AP function and just about every aspect in regards to saving time, saving space, and just having documents at our fingertips. So hopefully that sets the stage a little bit about how an organization such as Palm Springs Aerial Tramway had certain business issues they were trying to solve. And what it really kind of came down to for them is that they were able to grow their passengers, so the riders on their tramway, by 50% and not add any headcount. That was huge for them. All right, so let's kind of take a look at our agenda for today. We're going to be looking at, well, just what is DocLink? What is it in its entirety? And then we're going to go into exploring kind of a compare and contrast about a manual business process and maybe some of the issues that are inherent in a manual process, and then what that can look like with DocLink. And hopefully that way will really empower you to understand how DocLink might be effective in your organization. We're going to touch on that calculating the ROI. This always is important to companies because they want to make sure that what they are investing in, they can go to management and say, hey, listen, this is what our manual processes are. This is the cost of doing business manually, and we want to make this investment in technology. All right, so let's talk about DocLink. What is DocLink, right? So in our minds, we always think about it as an enterprise-wide document management and workflow tool. The reason why we say enterprise-wide is because you have an opportunity to store any kind of document, any report, any file type in the solution. Plus, you have the ability to route any document, report, or forms through a workflow such that if you maybe need an approval or a comment or coding, that is possible through the workflow engine. Another huge benefit is that DocLink is deeply integrated with your financial accounting software. And that's really critical because when we start looking at usability and the ease of using it, you want to be able to view documents within your Sage screens. You want to have the ability to push and pull data between systems, right? And you want to be able to capture any kind of document coming from Sage in order to create that unified document packet, if you will. All right. The benefits. Now, I want you to start thinking about kind of what's going on in your organization. Where are the bottlenecks, right? Where are the times that you're pushing and pulling documents and it's impacting, the efficiency and productivity of the organization? When I think about DocLink, though, I think about it as saving time, saving hard dollar costs, and meeting strategic initiatives. So as an audience, you can even right now breeze your eyes down this list. So let's look at cost savings. How much are you spending right now today in offsite storage? How much square footage are those filing cabinets taking up? What are you spending in terms of that copier machine? Are you trying to grow the organization and not add headcount? That's personnel. Are you routing documents between offices, which has a cost attached to that? Let's look at time savings, and we're going to go into these in a little bit more granularity because I think it'll be helpful to really showcase for you, how DocLink will solve these issues. But time savings, how much time are you spending searching, filing, copying? How much time is spent data entry? Is that kind of a big issue for you? And then on the strategic initiatives, now this is usually generated at the C level, but what's going on at the organization? Grow without adding headcount? Are we trying to go after those early paid discounts or avoid late fees? Right, so there's a lot of different benefits, and each one of these has a calculation attached to it. All right, let's get into advanced AP automation, right? And what does this really mean? Out in the industry today, I'm hearing a lot of AP automation as a coined term. And I find that kind of interesting because in my mind, I'm thinking, wait a minute, AP automation, but that's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg if we're thinking about invoice approvals. But DocLink is so much more than just AP automation. And that's why I think it's nice to put that advanced kind of at the beginning, because it comes down to what are you doing in the organization? Are you actually doing a requisition to have your employees request for items before they're actually being purchased? DocLink can do all of this. Does your process start with the purchase order? Right, so in our minds, DocLink can handle the entire life cycle of this, capturing all of these documents, streamlining the approval processes, eliminating data entry or minimizing data entry depending on what it is, and then providing you a synthesized document packet for which you'll be able to easily search and retrieve documents, provide them to the auditors, more easily answer any questions. So it comes down to this, right? If you're touching and moving and filing documents, DocLink might be the solution for you, right? If you have very inefficient approval processes, Maybe things are getting lost. DocLink might be for you, right? And here's another interesting one, although I think that with the pandemic, most companies were kind of forced to kind of go into a remote work. But if you are still wanting to, facilitate a remote workforce, DocLink might be for you. Going back to Palm Springs Aerial Tramway, they used to have to be in the office. Their primary AP person now actually does work remote. It's had such a personal impact because she no longer has to spend 2 hours on the freeway now commuting back and forth. And it's also freed her up to do work at the time that's most efficient for her. So that's really kind of a nice little personal benefit as well. All right. We're going to go into all the different layers. Now, I totally understand not all organizations are going to start with a requisition, but this may be something that you're contemplating as an organization or that you do today. So let's look at requisitions. I'm talking about the creation of it, I'm talking about the approval of it, and I'm talking about automatically pushing that data to create a PO. Right? So we've got our manual business process here on the screen. And what I normally hear from my customers and my prospects is that, hey, we've got this Excel form, but not everyone is using, the right form. Okay, you can use DocLink to have a standardized form. They have no visibility of where that requisition is in the process. They want an easier tool for their managers to approve this document, and then ultimately they do not want to have to re-input data right into the purchase order screens. They want to take that data from the requisition and push it into the purchase order entry window. Okay, so it'd be interesting to see if anyone can really relate here, to requisitions and what is going on here. Maybe we do a little chat, and maybe just simply say yes if you're a requisition-based company or looking for requisitions, or maybe just NA for does not apply. All right, I want to show you what this looks like, because behind the scenes of this requisition tool is what we call our Smart Form Toolkit. And the beauty of it is that not only can it do requisitions, but the same module can also be extended to other things like expense reports, like a credit card reconciliation where we're importing data and then splicing it up by employee for approval. So the scalability features of DocLink are quite profound, and that you can use them in various areas. So Mark, let me invite you to share your desktop, and let's take a peek at what does a requisition look like, what are all the cool things about it, and and how can this be used in an organization?
Sounds great, thank you. All right, so on screen here, we have a user logged in who has permissions to do so. We can make this very granular on who has access to what. And that's really important in an enterprise-wide system. But as we talk about the purchase requisitions or any form in DocLink for that matter, we want to make sure that we're taking this and we're automating as much as we possibly can here. When I start the form build, DocLink is going to assume things and default values in. So this is going to speed up the time it takes us to actually fill this information in. If we're doing Excel today, a lot of this has to be filled in every single time. And it's time consuming, cumbersome. We want to avoid that, right? So the company information, requester information, a date, the request number, these are all things that are very easy to fill in. We're just going to do it right up front. As we kind of go down and scroll through the form itself, this is really user definable. So, and what I mean by that is you get to choose what kind of layout you like to see. If, for example, you want to allow a new vendor checkbox to be in here, which disables the rest of the fields in here, we can do that. If we wanted to not have that, but instead use a lookup, if you know the vendor you typically use for your requisitions, we can look that up in your Sage system and pull that forward into the form itself. If you like none of this and said, I only want to free form data in and type it in or copy paste it or something like that. You can do that as well. Date pickers, drop downs, lookups, you name it, is all able to be combined into this form. So the form is pretty much exactly what you need. And bringing it into DocLink allows you to then automate where that document goes next. And this is just something that you really can't do in Excel, because then you're attaching it to an email, you're sending it to somebody else. They're manually entering it into Sage. So we can eliminate that completely. We can do the exact same thing when we get down to line item descriptions, unit counts, unit of measure, things like that. I'm just going to select an item. If we don't know an item, we can just type it in for what you're purchasing. So if it was just, office supplies, but we'll figure out who our supplier is later, you could do that. Tab through these values, select quantity to order, just going to put in 10 defibrillators. Each are $350, so we multiply to get 3,500. We can attach a GL account code to this as well. So if we know what cost bucket this ends up going to make sure we have visibility into better cost buckets in our P&L, then we can do that, right? And at the end of all this, we can just simply create this form, and DocLink takes this information and it automatically routes it into a workflow. DocLink is smart enough to realize, hey, this is a purchase requisition. So this is going to go into a purchasing workflow. And then maybe we tie an approval process around all this to say, if it's a certain item, it goes to this person for review. If it's this dollar amount, it goes to this person and this person. This is all automation that can be wrapped around that purchase requisition, all tied into your workflow process to be able to visualize and keep transparent this entire thing from start to finish. When it comes down to approvals, we can do this quickly and efficiently. Every document is tied to an approval list. So we can one-click approve the document. We can do this via email as well. So if a user they don't want to go into DocLink, they want to approve via email, they can do that also. And at the end of all this, after the document is routed, it's approved, the DocLink is going to push that transaction to create the purchase order automatically in Sage. So this eliminates the need for duplicate data entry from DocLink or a piece of paper or a network share where a document lives, and to create that document transaction automatically in Sage. DocLink is doing all that automatically. So we've compressed that process from really the start of that requisition lifecycle into a couple steps versus like 10, 12, 20 steps, and it speeds along that process all along the way. And ultimately, this gives you access to the visibility of your documents, better spend management, and understanding where documents are from start to finish. So this is just a taste of what DocLink looks like. And with that, I'm going to pass things back to Perry Lynn.
Thank you very much, Mark. Oh my gosh, yeah. So that was super cool because I loved seeing all the different pieces, whether it was the actual physical creation, of the requisition, very easy, very clean. I love the fact that you have those drop downs, there's lookups, there's templates. You can attach things either at the form level or the line item. I mean, there's so much functionality, and the end user or the company gets to choose, how much of that they want to use. I think having the concept of a requisition going through an approval cycle is also really critical, because then it gives that visibility and control, minimizing data entry or eliminating data entry with that electronic, push of data into the purchase order screen. I think that's really super amazing. Just having the beginnings of one complete packet, right? This is just the very beginning, but imagine when we've gone all through the process, and now you can look in DocLink or look in Sage and see all the documents, the requisition, the purchase order, the packing slip, the invoice, the check, all of it now becomes better. And I always like the strategic goal, which is, what is your organization trying to do to better manage its overall spend? Sometimes requisitions can be really critical in getting a handle on that. All right, not everyone's going to do requisitions. Some of you may want to actually start the process with purchase orders. And I totally get that there's the possibility of doing purchase orders in your ERP. DocLink is really intending to support your financial accounting software, but there are some cool things that can happen here. So let's do that compare and contrast, right? We've got the purchase order here. What's going on? We've got to have someone physically type in data, right? So that's what is the issue? We're time spent on data entry. And then we're going to route it through the approval process and then sending it to the vendor. I most typically hear people saying that they have to save it to a PDF and then they create the email and then they attach the PDF and then off it goes. And many, many times people are still reporting back to me that they are printing the PO because they are waiting for that purchase order, or sorry, waiting for the packing slip and the invoice, the documents to come in so that they can do a physical match of that paperwork. So you're seeing, of course, where, oh my gosh, yeah, if you start unpeeling the layers, there's lots of possibility where there's room for improvement. So wouldn't it be just super amazing if DocLink was able to, and it can, automatically capture the purchase order? It could also put it through that workflow approval process. It can also automatically send it out to the vendor. So you're collapsing that process of the manual send. And then there's one more little benefit there, which is if your organization says, well, vendors, they want the PO, but they also want some kind of supporting document, DocLink can do that automatically as long as those documents are stored in the system. Okay. All right, next kind of document is our packing slips, right? So if your organization is dealing with packing slips, there's lots of possibilities with DocLink here as well. We can simply capture the packing slip, so we've got evidence that that packing slip exists in the organization. That's one option. You have an option of scanning it into the workflow to support the actual receiving entry. That's very appealing to some organizations. You're saving time because it's using that transactional data to help provide meaning or index that document. It's yet one more document as a document packet, right? And you're able to view these documents right from within Sage. So we're kind of building our electronic document packet here. All right, invoices, right? So it's okay if your process is different than what I'm kind of sharing here on the screen. This is just meant to kind of give an illustration of a common business process. And we've got two different flavors of invoices that come to an organization, right? Those that are purchase order related, right? Many people are saying, well, yeah, I have to, get the invoice. Even if it comes in via email, I'm printing it, right? Which we're glad to help provide a remedy to that, but they're matching the documents together. They're bringing their eyes down all of the line item details, right? So that's a time component. Does it match? Yes, I'm going to physically enter it into the system. Does it not match? Okay, no, I'm going to send it off for the approval cycle. So just think about it. If you're able to use technology, DocLink, in order to capture that invoice as it's coming in via email, grab that data with OCR, automatically match to the data that's in Sage, right? And if it matches, automatically execute that transaction. Just like the time savings, I get so excited, but the time savings is very, very meaningful, right? What would that mean to your organization? Is that a 50% time savings, a 62% time savings, right? It can be very, very meaningful in terms of moving the organization from having to touch every single invoice to more managing by exception, okay? Now, those are our PO-based related invoices, and we're going to take a look at this in a demo, but we also have the idea of these non-PO or expense-related invoices. Same thing. There's lots of printing of invoices, manually routing. I love the rubber stamp, you put that rubber stamp on it, have people fill it out. Right? So how much time are you spending in this process today? How many people are impacted? And wouldn't it be a beautiful thing if we could use technology to OCR extract the data, right? Provide a tool for better, faster coding, put it through an electronic approval process And then no more data entry. That data and document gets moved over into Sage automatically. And no more filing, right? Because everything is now electronic. So let's maybe transfer things over to Mark, because I want to be able to have him show you how cool it is, to move into this idea of straight through processing. So Mark, I'm going to invite you to share your desktop and let's take a look at invoice automation.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so I want to start here. This is just an example of your email inbox. And the reason I want to start here is because we're going to be able to monitor this for any document that comes in from the outside world. Now, we're talking about invoices. Invoices typically come in this way, but we also know that paper invoices are still possible. As many documents you can get to be electronic first is going to help DocLink help you be better. And manage those documents quicker through this entire process. Not only is DocLink going to monitor your email, but it's going to separate the documents within a single PDF. So if you had 10 different invoices in one PDF, we're going to intelligently separate all those so you don't have to do that. Usually what we see is print out all those documents, collate them into individual documents, scan them back in, and that just takes a ton of time. All that goes away. What we're also going to do is identify the document as an invoice versus something else. So we don't even process those documents that are maybe an AP or AR statement coming into this inbox. Only invoices get through. Basically, it's the mesh filter that DocLink allows only the invoices or documents that we care about. And then what we're going to do on top of that as well, if that's not enough, is we're going to start extracting all the data from that invoice automatically. So as we move away from email, we're going to go into OCR. And there's a couple examples of the data that you no longer have to enter. This is a good example on screen here, where as the document came in, this would be something that we would never see in the real world because the system was confident enough to go through that initial process that we just talked about, extract all the information on screen, give a confidence level to say, yeah, we grabbed everything with 100% confidence rate. Why have a user even look at this? Because we can push it to the next step, which is maybe matching or GL coding, and move it into Sage to automatically create that transaction. That's that straight through process that we're, that holy grail that we're trying to get to. So this is an example of one that passed right through. We would never see it. If we were going to have an example of something that didn't work quite right. That would be, a piece of paper is crumpled up in our back pocket, or it's coffee stained, or it's maybe a yellow copy that was handwritten. These are all examples of exceptions that may occur. And so what we need to do, let's say that happened on the invoice number. Invoice number comes in here and the system says, no, I'm not quite 100% sure. So I want to get manual intervention to be 100% sure. We come in here, we point and click, and the value on the invoice number gets populated right in that reference number field. We didn't have to type anything, we just pointed, we clicked, and while we're doing that, we're actually training the software to be better for the next time. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to train the system to look at a crumpled up piece of paper, but if it could be better for the next time, and if we give it a better, flat piece of paper that's digital, then it's going to be better, and this is going to be a straight through process document. This is going to be the same thing for any value on screen. So things like vendor date, invoice number, total amount, great. We can look at the line item level and say, what if we wanted to grab all that information, match it up to the PO, like item number, description, unit price, line total. This is how we do that match. We're going to be matching it to the data that's already in Sage, make a determination if the invoice has 10 widgets, the PO has 10 widgets, and we received 10 widgets, we can make that match and do that automatic straight-through process that we all love and want. So that's just a glimpse of OCR and what that can do for you. OCR never sleeps, right? So if we're trying to grow our business without adding headcount, OCR is a great opportunity to do so because it's going to be able to process a ton more documents than any human can do manually, and it's going to be working day and night. The next step in this whole process is going back into a workflow process. This may be matching documents up, it may be geocoding. And so the first thing that DocLink does is it looks at that invoice and it says, is there a PO? Is there a package slip? And if there is, then move that document to PO match status. Here's an example of an invoice where we have two documents. We can view them all side by side of each other if we wanted to make that review. So as the documents are loading up here, we'll give it a second. And then what I can do is look at all three documents side by side of each other. I can manipulate the documents as I need. So if I needed to zoom in, zoom out, sort, fly around that document, just as I would expect to do in the physical world, we can now do that in the digital DocLink world, just to put a visual look onto this. DocLink's doing all this automatically behind the scenes. If there was some sort of discrepancy, so we were short shipped, or the unit price is twice what we had on the PO, well, that's going to flag the system to say, no, we need something happened here. So instead we move that document into this mismatch or discrepancy field. And then we can manually look at this and say, well, why did it move in here? DocLink will give us a reason why, and then maybe we need a new invoice from the vendor. So we call them up and say, send us a new invoice so we can handle that. Or maybe we haven't received all the goods, so it stays in an on hold status until everything was received. So these are, we're kind of blending the automation in with handling those exceptions. Then we're only dealing with exceptions. We're not taking the entire group of documents that we process on an annual basis. We're only looking at maybe 5 to 10% of those in the future, so that we can ignore 90% and process more with the same amount of headcount as we grow our business. So this is where DocLink becomes extremely valuable in that sense. If we take other documents, like ones that are not preceded by a purchase order, here's a good example of that. An Apple invoice that we just said, hey, we need more office supplies, so we're going to go buy some laptops and some electronic stuff. Invoice comes in, all the data is populated on it from OCR, and then we geocode it. We can speed this process along pretty quickly as well. So we could say, what if we have the same thing every single month? We buy Apple products on a monthly basis. We can just simply template that whole thing and populate all the information in the geocoding to get this done quicker. If not, we can do this one by one. If we wanted to manually change things, we can do that because DocLink pulls in the entire chart of accounts for you, and you can filter down to the account code or description to say, I only want to see things that start with 620 in this case. So we're looking at only the account descriptions that match 620. Sky's the limit here on how you want to sort, group, itemize, geocode your stuff. In short, you don't have to do this with a pen and paper, and DocLink can automate, pretty much to whatever degree you want to geocode these things. And just like we saw with a purchase requisition, every document in this case comes with the ability to route that document for approval. If we go back here, we can simply just move this document out and route it automatically to a person that may need to see this document. The way we do that is just select document, send to route, right? It couldn't really be any simpler. What DocLink is going to do is it triggers a notification saying, hey, maybe one of a bunch of different approvers could see this document. What are your rules to do this, right? It could be approver A is between 0 and 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10, 10,000 to 100,000, whatever it might be. DocLink can mimic that and automate that process for you. Your approvers don't even need to see the document in their workflow. They can actually just do this via email to make it really, really easy. They don't have to live and breathe in DocLink. We don't want them to. We want them to be pretty much hands-off to do the stuff that they do on their day-to-day. DocLink becomes secondary. You can do something like this where a approve, deny email comes into them. They simply one-click approve it, and the document moves out. That adds their digital authority, and it moves it into the approved status automatically. So you get a 2-for-1. I clicked a button, I did 2 different things at the exact same time. And at the end of all this, after the document has been geocoded, it's been approved, multiple approvals possibly, And DocLink is going to send that document into Sage to create a transaction for you to, again, eliminate that duplicate data entry. And if we want to review the documents before they get posted, we can also do that as well. So as part of the integration package, you get this View Docs button on this screen and any other AP and purchase order, AR, and sales order screen that exists in Sage 100, 300, you name it. And one-click View Docs button will go out into DocLink and find that document in a split second without you ever having to type anything in to search and retrieve those documents. Just an easy one-click way of doing that. Not to say that you can't find documents directly within DocLink, you absolutely can. We make it super simple to find all the documents at your fingertips. So if we just said, let's say we want to find all documents related to PO ending in 32, we multi-select all 3 documents that we want to find. We combine it into one PO order. We go ahead and click on search. DocLink goes out into the entire sea of documents that could be out there. Single click to staple them all together, single click to open it. And we're going to say, let's change this from maximize into easier to digest tile vertically here, if it allows me. There we go, tile vertically. And again, we can expand all those documents side by side to each other. This is just one thing DocLink can do. Obviously, DocLink can do a lot more, as we call it enterprise-wide. From an AP, PO, automation standpoint, this is pretty much what you get from start to finish, that document lifecycle on multiple documents, combining it, automating the process all the way through. This is what that looks like. All right, with that, I'm going to hand things back over to Perry Lynn to continue on.
Thank you very, very much, Mark. Oh my gosh. Well, you certainly covered it. I think you did a full AP automation demo, right, with all of it in a matter of minutes. So thank you very much. Lots of things that you covered. We covered the OCR capture. That's going to be an option to speed the paperless journey. We've got that automated 3-way matching. That's really critical in terms of saving time. Managing by exception. You showed GL codes. So for those companies that are non-purchase order companies, that's where you're going to start your journey, right? OCR extract into DocLink to do your coding. I loved what you showed in terms of the approvals. So you've got those really slick notifications if someone just trying to alert someone, or they can also do approvals in DocLink or through email. So I think that really shows a lot of flexibility. That automatic transaction entry, I think it's just critical in the folks here on the phone. Think about how much time are you spending doing transaction entry? That alone can really be transformative in the organization. All right, let's continue on because we have some more things that we want to cover here. Just another note about audit support. So you have lots of opportunities here to facilitate the audit process. Manual process, I see companies, if I go in and visit, they've got all these bankers boxes, right, around everywhere. They may be storing them on the warehouse floor, there may be offsite storage. But the beautiful thing with DocLink is that you decide how you want your auditors to access DocLink. Do you want to select the documents and send them to them? That's an option. Do you want to, like Palm Springs Aerial Tramway, they sit them down and they let them have access? Right, so that's yet another way. The whole thing here is that you are no longer having to deal with those bankers boxes, pulling bankers boxes, copying documents, putting those bankers boxes away. That's a nice time saver. So we're going to do a poll. And so Kimberly's going to kind of initiate this poll, and we would love for you to be able to, participate, because I'm kind of curious to know, just for those folks that are here on the line, what's going on in your organizations? Where are you feeling the most kind of pinch, if you will, in the process, or the bottleneck in the process? So we've got a couple different options up here. So is your biggest area of concern the approval cycle, right? Or are you more on the 2-way and 3-way matching? That's maybe the biggest concern for you. 2-way and 3-way matching kind of also dovetail into eliminating data entry, although that is another possibility with just expense-based invoices, right? Maybe you're looking for a full rec-to-check solution. And I love number E, and this is okay. And it sounds like it's tongue-in-cheek, right? I've got champagne taste in a beer budget, but DocLink is scalable. So the whole vision here is that maybe you love the idea of a full rec-to-check solution, but because of the timing or the budget, you're going to need to start very small and then grow into the solution. You can do that. There's no penalty. And then also knowing that you can take exactly what you've purchased for AP and extend it to other areas, that's another critical component. So Kimberly, I'm going to come back to you because I'm curious to know, do we have any kind of trend at this moment for those that have answered the poll? What's coming to the top of the list for our members today?
Sure, yeah. So it looks like 70% said eliminating data entry to scale organization was their top concern.
Okay, not surprised. Yeah, that's a big one, especially in today's climate. Okay, well, thank you. We can close the poll for now. Thank you very much for participating, and let us know if any of the material that we're presenting resonates with you. Reach out to your DSD salesperson. They will be able to get in touch with us. We can sit down, have a chat, kind of map out what are you doing today, where are those timepieces kind of being consumed, and then really help you put together a budget that's going to be appropriate for your organization, and also, you know, gear up for a demonstration if that's appropriate as well. Now, many companies are in a position where they know that they need a solution, but they have to build value to be able to present it internally, right? So I thought it would be helpful just to address a couple slides here on where is the value for your organization. We do have some tools, and we'll go into tools in a little bit as well that might help you with this. But in my mind, it kind of comes back to a couple key areas. And we all know that time equals money. So if you outline your business process and really take a look at how much time is being spent on each step, you will be baffled, right, at how much time is actually spent on the manual process. I did a business process analysis with one of my organizations. They are on the manufacturing side, and we calculated that 2 departments could save 62%, both of them. Right? And this was a combination of all those different various areas. So let's take a look at it, right? For them, they were spending, you know, time on the invoice arrived via email and mail, if they were printing it, so there was some time spent there. They had to open the mail, they were printing a date stamp, and some of this may be, you know, very familiar with you. Then they applied that rubber stamp, right, and did the GL coding. So there's time related to that. That was huge for them because apparently it took a lot of research. And then they were routing it off through the approval cycle. So think about how many approving managers you have. How long is it taking them, right? We're going to factor that time into the overall calculation. How much time is it taking you for your data entry, right? How much time is it taking you to put that check stub on the invoice stub and then file all of that away? So if you look at all of these components, right, I guarantee you that you're going to have a real substantial savings in terms of that compare and contrast of what you're doing today manually, and then what you will get when you implement DocLink. All right, so we're getting down to the home stretch here. I want you to know that there are many, many opportunities with DocLink. And some companies, they say, well, I'm coming in because I really have an AP problem. But then as they start looking at AP and other departments start hearing that you're looking for document management and workflow, they also want to know that they can participate. So just know that there are many opportunities for DocLink. Any department can utilize the solution. So we look at accounts receivable. Now here again, we're looking at just one tiny component of an entire business process workflow. So AR is a component of the whole quote to cash side of things. And if you're struggling on AR to send out those invoices with supporting documents, we can do a tiny solution around that. or we can look at the whole quote to cash side of things. Everything, field service, facilities, legal, HR, it all depends on you and where you want to prioritize the projects and, really hone in on what it is that you want to solve. DocLink can do it all, so you're covered. All right, so to kind of wrap up, my thinking here is that to really empower you as an organization to kind of think about this internally, go after securing a budget, really evaluating what solution is the best solution for you, I would think that you would want to first think about what is your strategy? Are you going after cost savings? Is it about efficiency? Is it about meeting strategic company growths, right? That's kind of at the highest level. And then I think about, well, what's impacting that? Is it the processes? Which process, right? Is it the requisition side of it? Is it the invoice approvals? We all talked about data entry, so that happens kind of throughout it. There's lots of different ways of thinking about it. And then think about the cost of doing business manually today, right? If you were going to have to hire someone to keep up with growing invoice volume, right? This is a pretty substantial amount, right? What happens if you were to eliminate late fees, or you're able to go after negotiating early pay discounts with your vendors, right? What are you doing in terms of rework, right? How much time is being spent on, I've got a lost invoice, now I need to get it back from the vendor, or I entered it incorrectly, now I've got to do a reclass entry. So there's a lot of possibilities in just looking at what you're doing today, calculating how much time you're spending, right? And that way, that in and of itself is going to be kind of revealing for you, right? And how much money you should throw at technology to solve. All right, so we're gonna do one last poll. Now, Kimberly has done a great thing, and you'll see in your kind of go-to meeting, there's a handout section. So right away, if you want tools, you can download them from right here. There's a brochure that talks about DocLink through many different business processes. We've got a really nice document management checklist that's kind of a catalyst of thought. Hey, if you've got this issue, you should be really thinking about document management. There's an ROI informational sheet as well. So just know that you've got access to those. If you want, you can also, if you're ready to, thoroughly investigate DocLink, I would suggest pick number D, or letter D. And what we can do is we can sit down, have a conversation about what you're doing, what your goals are, what are you doing in those areas today, kind of have an eye towards, the time that each bit of the process is taking. Typically on the same call, we can give you a preliminary guesstimate on what we think it's going to take. And if that resonates, then let's set up a demo so we can really show you how DocLink will work for you. So let us know, which of these tools is most important to you, and then we can also follow up accordingly. Also, if you're super need to get going, we get it. Go ahead and call your DSD rep. They'll be able to get us in touch as well. So with that, are you ready to take it to the next level? We'd love an opportunity to help you. I really sincerely hope that today's session was educational in helping you understand not only how to kind of look at your organization in a critical way and start looking at how are you doing things, what are the possibilities, but give us a shout or reach out to Kimberly, reach out to DSD and say, hey, listen, I really think I need this DocLink tool. So let's start the evaluation process. So thank you, Kimberly. Thank you to DSD organization for inviting us to, showcase DocLink today. And we'll look for any questions or follow-up. So I think, Kimberly, we can open it up for Q&A if anyone has some questions.
Great, perfect. Thank you, Phil. So actually a question that's really timely, I'm going to kind of skip forward to it. The question is the discovery call and demo with DSD or DocLink? and so which is you, LTech. So I just wanted to address that DSD will be your partner point of contact as well, and we partner with LTech for the DocLink solution. So your account manager, myself, our consultants will all be involved in that discovery process. So you have nothing to worry about on that. We know your business, and we'll go ahead and bring you to the conversation with LTech for DocLink. Is that about
good.
the speech?
Yeah, Kimberly, and you know what, just to piggyback on that, what I find happening, which is also really cool, is because DSD is participating, right, there are sometimes when you can actually use just what you have today more efficiently. So there are oftentimes some tips and tricks that you'll kind of learn along the way, and just by articulating your business process, that's something that DSD can bring to the table. So always great to have them involved.
Thank you, Carolyn. Okay, so another is this discovery call? Oh, I'm sorry. Does this replace or enhance paperless office?
Oh, that's a great question. So it replaces and enhances it, and here's why. In paperless office right now today, you have to go into the paperless office module in order to look up the document. When you deploy DocLink, there is a View Documents button that gets applied to the actual transactional screen. So I think you have a little bit more usability of just accessing documents. All of the paperless office documents get moved over into DocLink so that you have an easier sense of search and retrieval. Plus, you get the strength of what we call that, AP automation workflow. So in some ways it replaces it because, and in some ways it just simply is enhancing it. I hope that that wasn't too confusing, but there you go.
Perfect. Okay. If that needs more detail, Kimberly, let us know. That's who asked. So another question is a little detailed. How do you handle approvals for vendors that go to multiple locations and have multiple approvers?
Yeah, no worries. So the way that we do that is that it is called a sequential approval. And so we're able to outline, what does that approval cycle look like, and then route it sequentially through those approvals. You can also do some super creative things. Let's say that you don't want it to rest with someone for more than maybe 24 or 48 hours, so you can continue to cycle that invoice through everyone until all approvals have been accepted or given. So lots of possibilities. We call that rules-based automation, and it's another strength of DocLink.
Great. Okay. There's another, it's kind of long, so bear with me. I'm assuming that the View Document button is also on the General Ledger detail screens. So if someone looks at a GL detail, they can drill down on the expense and see the invoice?
Yeah. So if you're drilling down and you land on a screen that is integrated with DocLink, then you would be able to see that invoice. But don't forget, you can also look for documents in DocLink. So you've got two different avenues. You could even go into DocLink and say, hey, listen, I want to see all documents with GL account, either the whole string, a portion of the string, So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of getting after those documents.
Okay, perfect. Another one, is DocLink on-prem or cloud?
You get a choice there. So if you can deploy DocLink on-premise, that's one option. You can actually host it with a hosting provider of your choice, or you can actually use DocLink Cloud, where DocLink is physically in the cloud, and it does not matter, where your ERP is located, whether on-premise or in a hosting environment. So lots of choices there. Well, we like to offer most choices, so you can kind of choose what's going to resonate most for you.
I love that too. So another sort of relates to the same concept. Is it a one-time purchase or a subscription? What kind of model is it?
Oh, yeah. So you get a choice there as well. So we do offer a perpetual license. That simply means you are buying the software outright, and then you pay a nominal fee going forward as your annual maintenance. So for those people that are longtime customers, of Sage, that was the traditional model. people have now, most software companies have moved into a subscription plan. So for Sage, you'll have that C after your Sage, for instance, Sage 100C. That means you've moved into subscription. DocLink is available on a subscription plan as well. So there again, you've got a couple choices.
That's the best. Okay, great. Another question asks, do we need to have the most updated current version of Sage to use DocLink? We have Sage 100 2019 and need to update.
Oh, got it. Okay, that's a great question. And I'd always say, number one, go to DSD and make sure that you're asking them on what's the version over version, enhancements, so you know what's going to be applicable. For DocLink, we are excuse me, I have a little sneeze there. Sorry about that. We are compatible with all back versions up to 2019. I think 2018 is no longer supported by Sage. We'll have to double check on that one, but yeah. So 2019, you're golden.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a safe question because, we want to make sure you're on a supported version of the product for going forward even too. So
Right.
All great questions. So I don't see any more in the chat as of right now. We do have a minute or two left, but if anyone does have remaining questions or something occurs to you after this event, please feel free to, again, reach out. My contact info is here. We will be sending the recording out after this presentation. You should expect it tomorrow or at least by the end of the week. And so we'll be following up to, get your thoughts and get excited about this new piece that could enhance your Sage system. Perry Lynn, I will let you close if you'd like. Have any other closing thoughts for us?
Just thank you so much for the time. I hope it resonated. I hope that you learned a little bit of something. And if you would like to do a discovery call, let us know. Let Kimberly know, and we'll definitely get that on the calendar. So thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.